We're currently USU students, and we're in a psychology course to help us find what majors we want to get into.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it would be cool to become a zoo director. I really love animals,
Okay.
and I also wanted a job that paid pretty good.
So you looked up zoo directors and saw that they made good money.
Yeah,
If
if
you're
you can get up there.
if you're at San Diego,
Yeah.
if you're at Disney,
Yeah,
if you're at
one of the bigger
one of the
zoos.
bigger zoos.
Yeah. And you have to work your way up there.
Yes, exactly. You have to start, as a rule, you have to start way down the bottom. That's you heard.
I was.
Then you heard.
Yes, I got interested. Yes.
He's now interested, everybody. Look at him.
See you, Haley. Thanks.
So, yes, where did you start on the level up to where you currently are at?
You took a shortcut.
I took a shortcut.
I'd like a shortcut.
Shortcuts are good.
I worked as a county extension agent for two states, Ohio State University and Fort Wyoming. And so I did not have any experience in the zoo until I came here. But I think I'm one in a million that can do what I did.
Yeah.
And the way you would, if you become a director of a zoo, you had to go find a non-accredited backwater, little small zoo
Yeah.
in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't make anywhere near what those other zoo directors and other zoos make.
Yeah.
He's agreeing.
Yeah.
Because I make even less.
And so that's kind of, but your career starts out. John changed his career when he was in school, and you were in journalism.
I was in journalism, yes.
And then he decided to change, and he did his master's in England.
Goodness.
What did they call your degree?
So my master's is in zoo conservation biology. So essentially, they taught us how to run a zoo. So we took everything from nutrition to physiology to animal behavior to like small and medium business management classes. So
I think that's probably the preferred and the easiest route to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I said I started where I'm at, but I have a master's degree in animal science, reproductive physiology. And I worked with livestock, I raised them myself, and I did everything that I'm doing in my previous job for about, I have at least 15, 17 years experience. So it wasn't like I just came in, didn't know the one end from the other. My experience has prepared me for this pretty well.
Yeah.
So you get a degree in that, whether it's wildlife, whether it's biology, whether it's animal science, something along those lines is going to be very helpful. But I've attended conferences where the other CEOs or presidents or whatever they call them at those zoos, they have degrees in business administration and other things. So it all just kind of depends on the track that you take.
Mm-hmm.
And to find out that, you'd have to talk about what zoos they went to. But if you start out on a zoo, you usually start off at keeper level 1.
Yeah.
And you just work up from there. I've seen some where they've been a keeper for a while, and then they jump over to like an education director, and they'll go to back to another zoo and they'll do a curator, and level 3 or whatever, and then they'll go to another zoo, curator level 1, and then they may do. I even saw some that did a gift shop there for a while. So they kind of got all aspects. So by the time they worked up to that, they were pretty well rounded in the zoo background.
They kind of hit almost every area of the zoo. They knew what their employees
Exactly. So it just all depends. And when you start at the zookeeper level 1, it's diet preparation, you're cleaning the cages,
Oh yeah.
and you don't have tons of animal interaction. As you keep working up, then you get into where you start doing some of the training or the enrichment, and you start making plans, you start doing other things with the animals and working more through enclosures. But it isn't something you just jump right into and start doing.
All right. What got you interested in this line of work?
I always knew from a little kid I was going to be a vet when I was little. And as I grew and went to school, I looked at things and evaluated. I knew I still wanted to be involved in the animal industry. I like animals, and I like working with them, and so I knew I wanted to do something. And so when I was in Ohio and pondering a change in careers, just to come back So my wife and I are from this area, from Idaho, and I wanted to come back. But I didn't want to be an extension anymore because it just was a 90-hour-a-week job. And it wore me out. I loved it, but it wore me out. And so, I've always wanted to work in a zoo. And then I found this little small unaccredited zoo that needed a lot of help. And so that's how I got into it. But it's always been in the back of my mind.
I guess, what's your typical workday like?
When I'm healthy, it's about anywhere. Well, my wife's there.
Do you want to close that door?
I don't want her here. She'll say I'm lying. It's probably a 10 to 12, 13 hour day. She probably doesn't like all those. It's pretty typical.
Yeah.
But what does it entail?
Mhm.
For me, it entails a lot of staff organization. It entails, I'm over, again, because I'm a small zoo, I do a little bit of everything. HR, nutrition, maintenance, vet, record keeping, PR, media, working with the local politicians and stuff like that, and building networking, maybe another. So my day's pretty varied. That's partly why I like my job, because it is pretty varied. I don't get bored real often. I don't know if I've ever been bored, overwhelmed with everything. I don't get bored. So it just varies. I walk around the zoo. I try and go once a day just to make sure everybody's okay. Inventorying, we're getting ready for events, and so we're doing things. This morning I raked up a little area. I was out there raking leaves. Sometimes I just need a break, so I'll go rake for a half hour, an hour, and it feels good. So it is if you like variety, there's variety in working with a zoo, especially a smaller zoo. The larger zoo, you'll be in one area. You'll work with one animal or with an area, but in this zoo, you get a little bit of everything. So.
Interesting.
What advice would you give to someone like me who's interested in this line of work?
Want to answer that one?
Are you okay being dirty?
Yes.
Smelly? And just put your head down and get to work. Really, that's about the best advice I could give you. Because it's not easy. Every day is a challenge, and it's like you were saying, it's always a different sort of challenge. So whether it's you have a sick animal one day, or you have a tree that fell down and broke one of your fences, every day there's lots of work, lots of things to deal with, and it's always a surprise.
I heard on a radio show maybe a couple months ago, they were talking about different careers and jobs, and the lowest turnover and the highest satisfaction job in the nation is zookeeping.
Wow.
That was on NPR. People, when they get into it, have a passion for it, and you have to know that it's not going to pay real well for a while. Everything that he said, and they start off, and I think what I've noticed too, and it helps here, is if you start off volunteering, and then you're very consistent in being here and doing a good job, and you may not get a whole lot of variety for a while. You're stuck in the bottom for quite a while. But if it's just basically a waiting game. It's a patience game. If you'll wait it out, eventually something will shake loose, and then you really start moving pretty quick. But it's a passion, and I was really surprised to hear that on that radio. But people love it. Everyone talks about handling the animals. You have to know this too. When you come in, you're not going to handle a lot of animals. We don't have snow leopards. We don't have hippos. We don't have tapirs. And so you don't get to take a little baby polar bear cub home at night and feed it every 2.5 hours. The best you can get is you go check the temperature on the incubator in April and make sure the temperature and humidity are all right. And so your interaction with animals is much different than I think what people first realize. And so be aware of that, and just be committed, and if you're going to do it all the way.
just what's your favorite and least favorite animal to deal with?
For both of y'all.
Yeah.
Here or in zoos in general?
In general or here, you can choose.
Keith, come here. Hi.
Hello.
You're being videotaped.
Okay.
Well, so I did my master's research on macaroni penguins.
Nice.
So they have to be my favorite, just because I got to work with them every day and hand feed them and do all kinds of hands-on care. But that was a different situation in England. We don't really have that here. My least favorite. Well, I have a turkey who's not my best friend.
I wondered if you were gonna say.
I literally cannot walk into the back without him chasing me from one end to the other, and I have no idea why. So,
So what's your favorite here then?
oh man, I love our little western screech owl, Houdini, just because she's cute. She always comes in affectionate, at least towards me. And she knows that she's cute and she likes to show herself off. So
Worst kind.
yeah.
You know, and she's 15, 16, maybe even 17, and in the wild they live like 8 to 12.
Wow.
So you gotta have a soft spot for her because she's just outlived it. She's broken the curve. So,
Wow. And what are your favorite or least favorite?
in all honesty, I can say I don't have a least and a most favorite animal.
Okay.
I love them all. They're all fascinating. From the iguana, even the cockroach is fascinating. And the mealworms, they're all fascinating. Every animal that we have completely fascinates me. Individuals within the species are different.
Yes.
There are individuals, and sometimes it's seasonal, because I hate to deal with them during the breeding season. But it's the individual, and it's not the breed. It's just their personalities. All the animals have different personalities. So I love them all. I love sandhill cranes, but the female during the breeding season is a beast to work with. She is nasty. We've named her Maleficent for a reason. He talks about the turkey. He's one of the few I think that he still harasses. But from April through August, he's a turd, and so we named him Turd. So it's just individuals, and you keep that in perspective too. It's breeding season. They're kind of doing what they are supposed to do, and because the reason particularly the sandhill, the reason she acts that way is because she was hand fed by humans, so she's imprinted on humans. So whenever we go into that territory in the nesting season, she sees us as a threat. A wild sandhill would no more do that than fly to the moon. It's just how they were raised, and so it's not even really their fault. It just makes me grind my teeth when they have to just deal with them because they're so mean. So I really don't. I don't have faith. I really don't. I love them all.
All right.
Anything else?
We just have a list. And
So we don't forget.
I forget. Here's a good one that we have is that are there any perks or benefits that a zoo manager receives? Kind of like, do you get free walk on to like San Diego Zoo or something like that?
Get free walk on here, I'm guessing.
Free walk on here.
Yeah.
All access pass.
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay, but here to the zoo, yeah, you have keys. So I can come in on Sunday when no one else is here, and it's really, really nice and get a private little deal.
I come in every year on Christmas Eve and see the reindeer.
Nice.
Oh.
Now you know.
You do have, there are, even just working here, but yes, amongst other zoos, if you tell them you work at another zoo, they generally roll out the carpet for you and take you in and they show you behind. So, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Especially, I went to Oregon for vacation this summer, and I called them before. I said, I'm coming, I'm going to be here. Can I possibly get a tour? Oh, sure. How many are you bringing? You know, and then they take you behind the scenes. So you get to see, there are a few perks like that.
That's pretty cool.
Just last week we were in another place that showed us a building that doesn't open for another 6 months.
Oh.
We got to see how it all works and all the new animals that they've got in there for exhibit, and pretty interesting.
Oh, nice.
And and you start to talk about things that you don't normally mention to the public, just like how they designed it and why they designed it that way,
Mhm.
and why they did this and why there's this, and then they're always willing to help.
Share knowledge.
They do. They share knowledge very freely. So, yeah, there's a few perks. But you also, as a director, you're also the buck stops with you. You get blamed for everything. Good at it. Well, sometimes good, but always bad. And so there's those type of things. I'm trying to think what other perk it would be. Just that's enough. I don't know. Yeah.
That's cool by itself. The fact that it almost feels like more of a family sort of aspect between different zoos,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to go and get that tour that not a lot of people could get by themselves.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
And that'll extend it even to your family. That's the nice thing. If I go, I can take my wife and kids, and they'll get involved in that. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Another question: what skills must somebody absolutely have to succeed in working at a zoo?
Hard work, dedication, patience.
That's gonna carry you. That's gonna account for 90+%. That if you're just dedicated and a hard worker, you're trustworthy, you're dependable, you gotta be careful how I say this. I like people that can problem solve, kind of think, sort through things on their own,
Mm-hmm.
that don't have to have their hands held. Yeah. I like to see a little bit. There's that balance, because you also don't want someone to walk into the lion enclosure thinking they're first, oh, I've been here a month, I know what I'm doing. That's a little bit too much, but I like people to be able to sort things out and kind of come up with some things on their own. This is harder and harder to find, is people with a lot of animal experience. But boy, when they have it, it makes a ton of difference. But I was one of those that was raised with no animal experience. I was raised in the middle of town, next to the interstate. Mom and Dad wouldn't let me have a dog.
Oh,
So, how did I get it? I had friends that parents had chickens and goats and horses, and I made sure I was good their stalls and doing everything I could.
So where did you grow up?
In Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah.
lastly, what is the employment outlook in this field over the next, let's say, 10 years?
I don't have any data to back this up. I'm just going to kind of project on my own. I think it'll remain steady to maybe increase a little bit, but I think you'll see zoos evolve. And right now, you've got zoos. There's presidents, CEOs, directors, whatever they are, have been there for 20, 30 years. You're going to see a huge shift in the leadership in the next 5 to 10 years, just because they've been there for so long. They're going to retire, so you'll have a huge shift for a while, and then they'll lock down again.
Yeah.
So it just all depends on where you're at in your cycle and how well you progress. So you could say that there's some challenges ahead of zoos, and it depends on how they face them and handle them. But I don't see it dying.
Just that it's hard to increase. It's not like a restaurant that pops up every month.
Right.
This is the only zoo we're going to have in Logan. Period.
Yeah, but can zoos evolve to where they have more? Can we have a branch of the Willow Park Zoo in Bear Lake? Can we have a branch of the Willow Park Zoo in Malad? We'll see how they evolve.
Oh, I got a question. What does it take to start a zoo? I don't think that it's just, I'm going to grab an animal here, an animal there, and just put you in a cage and show you off.
No. You have to work, when you operate a zoo, you deal with all levels of government. You'll deal with USDA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. You will deal with state Fish and Wildlife. You will deal with county and local governments and all the permitting and everyone. And I still haven't figured all of them out, because some of them, some animals you need state and federal permits, and others you need state permits, and some of them you don't need permits, and some you have to have renewable ones every year. And you need a lot of permits. So you'll work with all levels of government.
Wow.
You have to have the land, and then if you go for accreditation and you want an accredited zoo, which is at least where we're at, we're still not there, but we're working on it. I still think it's a smart way to go. You'll have to have all your exhibits and your facilities all be up to standard. If you were just to take a zoo bare ground and build it up, and if it was this zoo, so 7 acres, and you do what we did, in order to start this zoo, I would say a minimum of $10 million.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Pocket change. You
Pocket
know?
change. Pocket change.
That's
We have
impressive.
some of that.
Wow.
Yeah, minimum. You could go through that pretty quick.
So then how did this get started? Who?
Started 45 years ago. It was a park, Logan City Parks employee, and he had a passion for waterfowl. And he just saw this little swamp ground out here that nobody was using, and thought, well, heck, maybe we could just put fences up and we could start an aviary. So he did. He threw out fences. He talked the city into backing it, and he threw out fences, and he started breeding birds, mostly waterfowl. I'd say 98% waterfowl. And then as time grew, they added a little bit here and there. Got bear and then monkeys and things like that. He retired, and so when we separated from the city 3 years ago and became our own private 501c3, the board says the direction we're going to go is less aviary, more diversified animals, mammals. So that's where we're headed.
Nice.
Yeah, I like them.
History I didn't know.
That's in a nutshell. That's condensing it.
And now you know.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we covered all the questions that we wanted and more. And just thank you for your time that you set aside to be able to help us with this.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
We'd like to do it. We are, I'm going to say we're unique. We have a lot of people that don't have a ton of experience, and that's what I think one of our primary missions is to just help people that have that curiosity, explore that. Some days it makes me rip my hair out because it can be very frustrating. But when you see some of those successes, it makes it worthwhile. Our mission statement says our goal, our mission statement is to affect change in people's lives. So we are here to change people's lives. The animals are the tool or the mechanism or the conduit that we use. They're still high priority, but people are number one. And that's what we want to do.
Very nice.
And so, is it because you tell them, again, were you raised on a farm?
No.
Were you raised on a farm?
during the summers.
Were you raised on a farm?
Off and on.
Okay. Very, very few of us have that. And so you lose that disconnect. You have a disconnect. I firmly believe if you understand how animals are and why how they interconnect to our life, then you're better able to take care of your world, your environment, the animals, and yourself. But you have to have that. And so we want people to understand the more they know, the better off they'll take care of the world. So.
And one last thing before we go, could we get you both to repeat your names and kind of what your position is here?
He makes up a new title every day. So. See what he says today.
Hey, he gave me free reign to choose my own title. Jonathan Larson, and I go by zoological manager.
Okay. Is that a normal one that he usually uses?
That's close.
Pretty standard.
And I'm Silas McGuire.
That's an awesome name.
And it's actually Troy Cooper.
Okay.
And I'm the director, but I'm also HR. I'm also nutrition. I'm also health. I'm also enclosure. I'm also everything. But I'm the zoo director.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
You bet.